Hey everyone, welcome back. We're continuing our reading of the Tafseer, and we are on page 50, alright? And we're on 221's quotes from the Quran. O people, worship your Lord who created you and those who came before you, that you may become pious. 2:22. Who has made the earth a resting place for you, and the heavens an edifice, and sent down rain from the heavens, and brought forth therewith fruits as a provision for you. So do not set up rivals to Allah when you know better. Do not set up rivals like our bosses. This is a general command that is addressed to all people, instructing them to worship Him in a comprehensive way by obeying the commands of Allah, heeding His prohibitions, and believing in His words. Okay, so comprehensive worship, heeding the warnings, like the prohibitions, believing words. Thus He commands them to do that for which He creates them, as He says, I have not created the jinn and humans except to worship me. Then Allah tells us why it is obligatory to worship Him alone, for He is your Lord who has bestowed upon you all kinds of blessings. He created you after you were nothing. He created those who came before you, and He bestowed upon you blessings both obvious and hidden. That is very true. The hidden blessings that you don't even realize you have until later. He made the earth a resting place for you, on which you build structures for your benefit. That's a cool point. Build structures for your benefit. I like the way that's worded. It's interesting He says resting place, because today the world feels like an endless treadmill of labor. He caused you to cultivate and till it. He enabled you to travel from one place to another, and He granted you many ways of benefiting from it. He made the heavens an edifice for the earth on which you dwell, and He placed in it benefits that you need, such as the sun, moon, and stars. Rarely people even look up at the sky anymore. Very few people do. I do, but very few people do. And sent down rain from the heavens. The word sama, translated here as heavens, refers to anything that is above you. Hence, the commenters said that what is meant by heavens, sama, here is the clouds, from which Allah sends down rain, and brought forth therewith fruits. This may include other crops such as grains, dates, and so on. Dates are delicious. I got some medjool dates right now. As a provision for you, to feed and sustain you, so that you might survive by means of it and enjoy it. It's interesting with the provisions. I just saw, I think it was Montana or Wisconsin, but even still during food shortages, a potato farm dumped just thousands of pounds of potatoes into a big pile because they couldn't be gathered up and put to market, because most restaurants are still shut down in many areas or at minimum capacity, right? So we could have starvation, really not as bad as it is today, but corporate greed, bad logistics. It's really scary. So God gives you provision. So many seeds, the kernels on corn, so many seeds in a pumpkin, even on a strawberry. Yet people go hungry. So do not set up rivals to Allah, that is, equals from among His creation, which you worship as you should worship Allah, and love as you should love Allah. This may sound weird, but the more I think about like my bosses, how they want to be able to dictate something, right? Like you fear them, they want you to overly bow to them. When they walk in the room, many of them want you to be fearful. They want you to put on a huge show, like, hi, it's so good to see you. They get offended if you're just like, good morning, right? They're like, no, I am a pharaoh. And it's interesting. It's almost, I do really wonder, for myself, how I'm going to slowly break free from that, right? I'm not saying you disrespect your boss. Just stop the brown nosing, as they call it. His control. Although they are created beings like you who receive provision and are under his control, having not the slightest power either in heaven or on earth, and they cannot benefit or harm you at all. When you know better, that is, when you know that Allah has no partner or equal with regard to the power of creation, granting of provision or control of the universe, and he has no partner in worship, so how can you worship other gods besides him when you know these things? This is something that is very strange and extremely foolish. It's a fair point. This verse combines the command to worship Allah alone and the prohibition on worshipping anything other than him. It offers clear evidence that it is obligatory to worship him and that the worship of anybody other than him is invalid. This refers to Tawheed ar-Rububiyyah, oneness of the divine lordship, which implies that he is the only one who creates, grants provision, and controls. If anyone accepts that he has no partner in these things, then by the same token he should also accept that Allah has no partner in worship. This is the clearest rational evidence for the oneness of the Creator of the invalidity of associating partners with him. So notice this just came in my head, grants provision. I wonder how many employers would improve in their narcissism and their ego if they kind of thought a little bit like, I don't control my worker's life, right? You know how they just hold that money, like your paycheck in your head? Let me give a better example. So in one of my jobs, you had to ask for your tips. And I would go and I'd say, hello, can I get my tips for the week? And they'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll get it later. They could get it then, but they wanted to, this person had a personality, they wanted you to wait. And then it'd be time for me to go, clock out, and I'd be like, can I get my tips? Like I asked them at 10, they're giving them to me at, 3:45. And then they would be like, okay, just one more second. Are you sure you can't give it to you tomorrow? Like I watched them, they had plenty of time to do it all day. Just walk in the office, turn the safe, pull out the bundles, find my name, walk out, give it to me. Very simple. But they wanted to wait. They wanted you to be in anticipation, to kind of have that power push. I don't know if you've ever experienced something like that, but there's a lot of really strange power flexes that bosses do to their employees to kind of be like, I am a god, you fear me, I'm the manager. I've literally had bosses and I've had managers tell me, I'm the manager. And I'm like, I know, but this is a problem and we need to fix it. Like, I can tell you something needs fixing. We're humans. You're a human. I'm a human. We just have different duties. Do you know what I mean? But I wonder if more bosses thought, I cannot punish this person by firing them. Like I knew this chef, this awful chef. He would fire people, like, and then they would walk out. Like the one time he fired somebody, and that person wanted to shake people's hand goodbye. He ate a strawberry and got in trouble, and then there was something he answered back to the chef, like, people eat free all the time, but I eat a strawberry and get in trouble. And he was like, oh yeah? You don't like it? Well, get the F out of here. Like, he was always screaming at people, right? And eventually he fired that dude. And he, really got off, you could tell, about firing people on the spot, ruining their financial careers. And what's sad is that the dude he fired, his name was, I believe, Jake. He was in rehab for his drug addiction. He relapsed on drugs, and then everyone in the work heard that, man, he went back to drugs. He got so depressed, he lost his job. He was in a special house for drug addicts. He lost his job, and if you don't have a job, you'll get kicked out of the rehab center, right? So he has to find a quick job or he'll get kicked out of his rehabilitation center and be homeless on the streets, back using drugs. So this chef really got off on that, and there were several times, where I was like, man, there's this evil in the world, and he ain't the only one. So I think if more people thought about God gives the provision, you may think you're going to ruin this person's life by firing them, but God might give him something better, or her, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you feel me? I don't know if I'm the only one who's experienced this. It can be. I mean, chefs are notorious for being abusive, screaming. You can feel their spit on your face. That's one benefit of the masks. Now when you get yelled at, you don't have to feel their spit on your face. But if we heed the prohibitions of Allah, and we think about Him, and we think about His promises and His word to us, I feel like we have less fear of what other people can do to us to bend us to their will, right? And if more people who are bosses think, I really don't have control over this person's life, I think I'm punishing them by making them submit or threatening them to cut their hours or play little political games. But if, somebody who is godly, be like, you know what, their destiny is up to Allah, I'm going to try to treat them as best as I can. That's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? That's what I've been really thinking a lot about lately. It's one of the benefits. Very interesting, right?